You don't need to change your entire life overnight. Just 10 small habits, practice daily, with intention. This is how I escaped the noise in my head, found calm in the chaos, and became steady like a stoic warrior. I didn't do it all at once, but I did it every day. Are you ready to live with more clarity, more peace, and real strength? Let's begin. Start with one habit. One breath. One moment of quiet strength. You don't have to be perfect, just present. Not heroic, just consistent. Write it down. Take the first step today. And keep stepping, even if it's slow. Because real change doesn't shout. It whispers every time you choose discipline over distraction. So ask yourself, what's the one thing you can do today to live with more intention? Do it now. The rest will follow. 1. Turn a simple morning question into unshakable inner armor. Before you grab your phone. Before the emails pour in. Before the chaos of the world floods through the cracks of your morning stillness. Pause. Close your eyes. Breathe in. And ask yourself, with calm, curiosity, and a warrior's mind, what might trigger me to lose control today? This isn't a question of fear. It's a question of preparation. A Roman emperor asked himself this question nearly 2,000 years ago. Marcus Aurelius ruled over the greatest empire on earth, not through brute force, but through the discipline of his mind. He knew that the world would test him, that people would offend him, and that chaos would find its way in. But he also knew this timeless truth. We do not control the events. We control our response to them. Ask yourself this question every single morning, not as a ritual, but as a declaration. Crossed swords, a declaration that you will not be caught off guard. Crossed swords, that your emotions are not your master. Crossed swords, that calm is not something you stumble upon, it's a decision you make, deliberately. Because you already know what today might bring, don't you? That coworker who loves to interrupt. That client who thrives on pressure. That driver who cuts you off on the freeway. That email that ruins your flow. That family member who pushes your buttons, again. You already know what might throw you off your game. So why not armor up now? Why not train yourself ahead of time, just like a fighter studies his opponent before the bell rings? Don't let the first punch of the day be the one that knocks you out. Let it be the punch you saw coming and smiled at. Here's how you do it. Write the question on a note card. Put it on your nightstand or bathroom mirror. What might trigger me today? Answer honestly. List 2 or 3 likely triggers. Pre-select your response. How will you handle them? With silence? With humor? With boundaries? This is not passive reflection. This is active psychological warfare, and you are the general of your own mind. It's easy to be calm when nothing is wrong. But that's not power. Power is choosing calm when the pressure is high, when someone is testing your patience, when the old version of you would have exploded. That's where this question leads you. To the version of yourself that is not easily moved. To the man who is not easily broken. To the leader who carries quiet strength, not loud ego. So, tomorrow morning, before you open a single app, before you let the world in, sit. Ask. Visualize. Prepare. Because men who prepare don't panic. Men who train their emotional reflexes don't overreact. Men who pause become powerful. Let the others wake up and react. You wake up and respond. This is not just a question. This is your armor. This is your edge. This is your stoic weapon, forged in silence, sharpened by self-awareness, and ready for battle. Do it every day. And over time, you won't just become unshakable. You'll become unrecognizable to the man you used to be. Ready to live with unbreakable calm? Ask the question. Own the day. Command your mind. 2. Eliminate the enemy before it attacks. Turn off all notifications for 24 hours. You've begun your day like a warrior, not with panic, but with preparation. You've asked the question, you've anticipated your triggers, and you've stepped into the day with inner clarity. But now comes the next battle. Because no matter how centered you are in the morning, your mental fortress is still vulnerable to 1,000 tiny intrusions throughout the day. Distractions don't knock on the door, they slip in through cracks. And in our world, they wear a familiar mask: notifications. Buzz. Ding. Vibrate. Pop up. That tiny red badge on your screen, quietly whispering, "Look at me. Check me. React now." Each one seems small, harmless, but they're not. They are the modern equivalent of death by 1,000 cuts, slicing away your focus, stealing your attention, breaking the rhythm of your mind, and slowly, silently, making you reactive again. And here's what makes them dangerous: they disguise themselves as urgent. But most of them are not. A meme from a friend. A 10% discount from a store you don't remember visiting. A group chat arguing about weekend plans. A news headline that will not change your life, but will hijack your thoughts. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." But how can you be the master of yourself when your phone buzzes more than your breath flows? The truth is, discipline isn't just about resisting temptation, it's about removing it altogether. You don't need to be stronger in the face of distractions. You need to outsmart them. You need to design your environment to serve your deepest values, not your weakest impulses. And so, today, your mission is simple, but not easy. Turn off all notifications for the next 24 hours. Every single one. No exceptions. Here's the deeper reason why this works. When you silence the outside world, you allow your inner world to speak. You start to notice where your mind runs when there's nothing pulling it. You begin to operate from intention, not interruption. You give yourself the rarest gift in the modern world: undivided presence. Because if you can't sit in silence, you won't last in chaos. And if your mind is constantly being hijacked, you're not living, you're just reacting. This is not about productivity hacks. This is about reclaiming dominion over your own nervous system. So here's how to do it, step by step. Open your phone settings. Disable all push notifications, texts, emails, social media, news alerts. Use Do Not Disturb mode or focus mode throughout your work hours. Leave your phone in another room during deep work or meals. Inform those closest to you, for the next 24 hours, I'm off the grid to be fully on purpose. This is a radical move in a world addicted to instant access. But radical results come from radical choices. And make no mistake, this is a power move. Because every time you don't respond to a ping, you are reprogramming your brain. You are teaching it, I am not at the mercy of the world. I respond when I choose. Do this for just one day, and you'll feel it. More peace. More presence. More power. Then try it for another. And another. Until your phone no longer controls you, you control it. This isn't just about attention. It's about identity. You're not the kind of man who flinches at every sound. You're the kind of man who chooses his moments, who protects his energy like it's sacred, because it is. You've already begun this journey with awareness. Now comes the test of your environment. Shut off the noise. Shut down the temptation. Reclaim your mind. 3. Reclaim your presence. Eat one meal in total silence. You've taken back your mornings with clarity. You've sealed off the noise of the world for 24 hours. Now comes the next level of mastery, and it's subtler, quieter, but no less powerful. Because even in stillness, many men remain distracted. Even in moments designed for recovery, they remain disconnected. We scroll while we eat. We watch something while chewing. We answer emails, listen to podcasts, message friends, all while our bodies go through the mechanical process of fueling themselves. And we think we're saving time. But what we're really doing is abandoning presence. So here's your next discipline. Choose one meal today, preferably dinner, and eat it in complete silence. No phone. No screen. No music. No conversation. Just you in the moment. The purpose? To remember that presence is not something you get from an app. It is something you practice. It is something you train. Just like strength, just like discipline, presence is earned. And nowhere is that practice more accessible and more revealing than during a simple meal. Because how you do one thing is how you do everything. If you eat like a man at war with silence, what does that say about how you live? This isn't about eating perfectly or slowly or ritualistically. It's about meeting the moment without distraction. Bringing full attention to something your body does every day and noticing what you've been missing. How the food tastes. How you chew. How your breath flows between bites. How your body responds when you're not shoving calories while scrolling headlines. And more importantly, noticing what your mind does when it's no longer numbed by constant input. You may feel discomfort. You may feel the urge to reach for your phone. You may feel boredom, restlessness, even agitation. Good. That's the point. What you're feeling is your untrained attention, twitching like a muscle that hasn't been used in years. You are awakening the discipline of stillness. You are rebuilding your ability to sit with yourself. Seneca warned that indulging in pleasure without awareness turns men soft. Not physically, spiritually. This small practice is not just about eating. It's about regaining sovereignty over your senses. It's about noticing how easily your mind runs away and calmly bringing it back. It's not easy, but it is profound. Here's how to begin. Choose a meal, ideally one where you won't be rushed or interrupted. Put away your phone before the first bite. Not beside you. Not face down. Out of reach. No TV. No laptop. No podcast. Sit down. Breathe. Observe the food. As you eat, stay fully with the moment. Notice textures, flavors, movements, urges. Every time your mind wanders, gently return. This is not about perfection. It's about presence. It's about building a mind that can stay, not one that runs. Do this today, and you will begin to taste your life again. You will feel what it's like to be fully in one moment, even just for 10 minutes. And over time, that quiet strength will spill into everything else. How you speak. How you listen. How you lead. Because if you cannot master your attention in silence, you will never master it in chaos. And Stoicism, at its heart, is about becoming unshakable in both. So sit. Eat. Breathe. Be. This is your mind, return to you, one bite at a time. 4. Face the mirror without flinching, write down one small failure and your reaction. So far, you've reclaimed your mornings. You've taken back your attention. You've relearned presence in the silence of a meal. But now comes a different kind of work. Not one of stillness, but of courage. Not outer silence, but inner honesty. Because it's easy to focus on wins. It's easy to document progress. It's tempting to share the highlight reel and ignore the shadows. But real strength is forged in the places we avoid. Real growth begins the moment we stop pretending. So tonight, before you sleep, take a pen, take a blank page, and write this down. One small failure you experienced today. And the exact way you reacted to it. Not how you wish you reacted. Not the version that sounds noble. The truth, raw, unpolished, and uncomfortable if necessary. This is not an exercise in shame. This is an exercise in ownership. Because the Stoic doesn't fear failure. He fears the kind of man he becomes when he lies to himself about it. Marcus Aurelius wrote daily about his own shortcomings, not because he was weak, but because he understood that self-awareness is strength. When you write about a small failure, even something as minor as snapping at someone, skipping a task, or procrastinating for 5 minutes, what you're really doing is stepping into the role of an honest witness. You are no longer just living on autopilot. You are learning to see, to observe, to understand, and then to adjust. Because the issue is never the event. It's always the reaction. Did you respond with anger? Did you numb it with distraction? Did you spiral into self-judgment? Or did you pause, breathe, reset? Your response is your responsibility. This practice is small, but it is revolutionary. Because every time you observe your reaction without excuse or escape, you weaken the hold of your old patterns. You teach your brain, we don't run from failure, we study it. You stop being a slave to reaction and become the architect of your response. Here's how to begin tonight. Before bed, open a notebook. Not a phone. Not a digital app. A real page. Write this question. Where did I fall short today, and how did I respond? Be honest. Be detailed. Be brutal if you have to, but never cruel. Then ask, was my reaction aligned with who I want to be? Finally, write one sentence. Next time, I will respond by. Do this every night, and over time, you will build a library of emotional data. Patterns will emerge. Triggers will become clear. You'll begin to see how often the same situations knock you off balance, and how you can anticipate them, prepare for them, and eventually master them. This is how mastery begins. Not in grand victories, but in small honest moments repeated relentlessly. So tonight, do not scroll. Do not distract. Do not drift into sleep without this moment of reflection. Sit. Write. Reveal. Refine. Because the man who can face his smallest failure without flinching is the same man who can face life's greatest storms without breaking. 5. Strengthen your will. Do one thing you dislike, immediately. You've done the hard thing already. You've looked in the mirror. You've written down your failure, owned your reaction, and chosen a better way forward. That kind of self-honesty? It's rare. But awareness, while essential, is not enough. Not on its own. Awareness without action becomes self-pity. Awareness without follow-through becomes another journal entry that fades. So now, it's time to do the thing you've been avoiding. Because knowing your weakness is only the beginning, the next step is training your will against it. And the simplest, most powerful way to do that is this. Choose one small thing you dislike, and do it immediately. Not tomorrow. Not later. Now. Because the strength of your will is not measured by how much you can do when you're motivated, but by how often you can act in the face of resistance. The philosopher Cleanthes once said, "Lead me, O Zeus, and thou, O destiny, whithersoever I am appointed to go." But modern men forget this. The divine is not just in where we go, it's in how we go. And most men wait. They wait for motivation. They wait for clarity. They wait for the right moment, the one where they finally feel like it. But that moment rarely comes. The Stoic doesn't wait. He acts. Even in resistance. Especially in resistance. So what's one thing, just one, that you know needs to be done but always avoid? It might be taking the trash out right after eating. Folding your laundry the moment the dryer buzzes. Starting your workout, even if it's just 5 minutes. Writing that email. Cleaning the sink. Making your bed again because it's messy. It doesn't matter how small it is. What matters is that you've associated it with friction, and that friction is the exact place your discipline needs to be trained. When you act in the face of that resistance, you send a signal to your brain. I am not ruled by preference. I am ruled by principle. And that signal, repeated often enough, builds a new identity. A man who shows up. A man who finishes. A man who does the thing. Here's how to make it work. Identify one small task that you normally procrastinate or avoid. Don't think. Don't rationalize. Don't give yourself time to build a case against it. Act. Immediately. Once completed, pause. Breathe. Acknowledge that it was hard and that you did it anyway. This practice is not about efficiency, it's about integrity. It's not about the task itself, it's about the man you become through it. Because if you can conquer your resistance in the smallest of ways, you are training your mind to show up when it really matters, in conversations, in conflict, in decisions that shape your future. So choose the discomfort. Move toward the resistance. Face it, not as an enemy, but as a doorway. And walk through it. Now, you've faced your thoughts. You've trained your stillness. Now, with this step, you begin to train your will, the invisible backbone of every man who ever changed his life. 6. Defeat delay. Set a time limit for the task you're avoiding. You've just taken a bold step, facing friction head-on. You chose discomfort, not because it was easy, but because it made you stronger. You did the thing you dislike, and in doing so, you became a little less ruled by resistance and a little more ruled by principle. Now it's time to face a different beast. The task you've been avoiding. Not the quick one. Not the easy one. But the one that lingers. The one that drains you simply by existing in the back of your mind. The one you've made excuses for, the one you keep pushing to tomorrow. This is not about laziness. This is about fear dressed as productivity. This is about delay disguised as planning. And you're not alone, every man fights this war daily. The war against the drift. The slow erosion of time, where we tell ourselves, I'll do it later, until later becomes never. But here's the truth the Stoics knew. The longer you wait to live with discipline, the harder it is to reclaim your life. Seneca said, you pay a price for every moment you postpone your life. The longer you avoid the task, the heavier it becomes. Not because the task itself changes, but because your identity weakens in relation to it. Avoidance chips away at your confidence. It whispers, you are not ready. You are not disciplined. You can't do this. And every time you believe it, that voice grows stronger. But there is a way to silence it. Set a timer. Commit to the task. Limit the time. Start anyway. Not because you feel like it, but because your time is too valuable to waste on hesitation. Here's the method. Choose one task you've been avoiding. Set a timer for 25 minutes. No more. No less. This is the sacred Pomodoro, 25 minutes of focused work, followed by 10 minutes of rest. Turn off all distractions. Notifications stay off. Music stays off. You've practiced this in step 2. Begin. Do not stop. Do not pivot. Do not second guess. When the timer ends, you stop, even if the task isn't finished. Because this is not about completion. This is about momentum. It's about building a new response pattern in your brain. I begin, even when I don't feel ready. That single act, beginning without inspiration, is a secret weapon. It separates men who create from men who coast. It separates action takers from excuse makers. It builds identity, resilience, and a deep trust in yourself. The more often you do this, the more you'll notice something incredible. Tasks stop feeling overwhelming. Procrastination stops feeling comfortable. Time starts to feel like an ally, not an enemy. Because now, you are living with structure. Now, your day has boundaries. Now, your will commands your time, not the other way around. You'll begin to crave the simplicity of that 25-minute window. You'll start to see the beauty in short sprints of focus. And over time, you'll realize that the monster you were avoiding was only as big as your indecision. So today, don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for the perfect conditions. Don't wait for everything to line up. Time is your most finite resource, and it is burning whether you act or not. So take the task. Set the time. Start now. You are no longer the man who waits. 7. Protect your energy like gold. Say no to one request today. You've set the timer. You faced the task. You've moved from delay to deliberate action, and in doing so, you've reclaimed your time. But now comes a deeper layer of mastery. Because time isn't just stolen by distraction. It's often stolen by obligation. The hardest part isn't always what you have to do. It's what you have to say no to. You are not a machine. You are a man with finite energy, a finite mind, and a finite number of decisions per day. And yet, how often do you say yes when every cell in your body wants to say no? To a meeting that drains you. To a favor that breaks your rhythm. To a request that comes from someone else's urgency, not your own priorities. This is not about being rude. This is about being sovereign. The Stoics understood this well. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you seek tranquility, do less." But he didn't mean laziness. He meant intentionality. He meant saying yes to what matters and no to everything that dilutes it. Because every time you say yes out of guilt, fear, or reflex, you are saying no to your own focus, your own rest, your own direction. And over time, that pattern erodes your confidence. You become scattered. You become reactive. You begin to live for others' agendas instead of your own compass. So today, your discipline is this. Say no to one request. Just one. It could be a request for your time, your attention, your energy, or even your opinion. It could be as simple as declining a group chat, postponing a coffee, or saying, "I can't commit to that right now." The form doesn't matter. What matters is the decision. Because every time you say no to what drains you, you say yes to what sharpens you. And this practice will change you. You will feel guilt at first. You will feel the urge to explain, to over-apologize, to soften your boundary. But here's the truth. A man who honors his limits becomes limitless. Not because he says no to everything, but because when he says yes, it is pure. It is chosen. It is aligned. Here's how to practice. As requests come in today, emails, texts, favors, invitations, pause. Ask, does this align with what I value right now? If the answer is no, say it clearly and directly. No anger. No excuses. Just ownership. Thanks for thinking of me. I won't be able to do that. I'm at capacity this week. Not right now, but I appreciate the invite. The more you do this, the more powerful your yes becomes. And others will notice. They'll begin to respect your time, because you do. They'll stop assuming your availability, because you made your priorities known. Saying no doesn't close doors. It opens the right ones. So today, choose yourself. Guard your energy. Treat your time like the gold it is. You mastered action. Now master access. Step 8. Cut the poison at the root. Speak 0 words of complaint today. You said no. You stood your ground. You protected your time and reclaimed your energy, not through aggression, but through quiet, unshakable clarity. But now it's time to look inward again, not at what you allow into your life, but what comes out of your mouth. Because for all the boundaries we build around ourselves, there's one silent assassin that can still live inside us, and it leaks out one sentence at a time. Complaining. Not the fierce roar of real pain. Not the thoughtful processing of difficulty. But the low, subtle, corrosive drip of discontent. The sigh. The eye roll. The sarcastic jab. The offhand remark that says, "I hate this," or "Why does it always have to be this way?" You might think these moments are harmless, that they're just little emotional releases. But make no mistake, each complaint is a crack in your foundation. And over time, those cracks become fractures. Here's why. Every time you complain, even subtly, you train your brain to focus on what's wrong. You reaffirm that you are powerless. You shrink your posture. You hand over your mental state to the external world and say, "This thing controls how I feel." And that is the opposite of Stoic strength. The Stoic does not deny difficulty, he acknowledges it fully. But he does not let it define him. He adjusts. He responds. He endures with silence when needed and with decisive action when possible. As Epictetus put it, don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. And that means speaking with precision, not pollution. Speaking with direction, not discontent. So here is your task for today. Speak 0 words of complaint. Not one. That doesn't mean suppress your truth. It means refine your language. Speak like a man who understands that every word is either building or eroding his internal architecture. If something bothers you, name it, then act. If you're tired, rest. If you're under pressure, breathe, plan, execute. But do not leak. Do not drain. Do not speak powerlessness into existence. This is not about becoming stoic in appearance. It's about becoming powerful in presence. Here's how to practice. From the moment you wake up, become conscious of every word you speak aloud and every sentence you form internally. When something frustrates you, pause. Ask, what am I about to say? Then ask, is this a solution or just noise? Replace every complaint with a calm, forward-moving statement. Instead of "this traffic is killing me," say, "This is a chance to breathe and think." Instead of "I'm sick of these meetings," say, "I'll speak up with a boundary next time." Instead of "I hate this," say, "I'm choosing to move through this moment with strength." At first, it will feel artificial. Then it will feel empowering. Finally, it will feel natural. And you'll notice something subtle, yet radical. Your inner voice shifts. It becomes less chaotic, less reactive, more solid, more still. That is the voice of a man in command of himself. Today, you're not just refusing to complain. You're rebuilding your inner leadership, one unsaid sentence at a time. And that's real power. 9. End the day like a philosopher. List 3 things you control and 3 to let go. Yesterday, you practiced the rarest discipline of all, silence in the face of irritation. You broke the reflex to complain. You chose presence over powerlessness, direction over discontent. And now, as the day draws to a close, you are faced with one final task. To close the loop, with clarity, not clutter. With reflection, not regret. Because even the most disciplined man, even the most prepared mind, can still fall into the trap of worry. Of mental noise. Of trying to control what was never his to command. And this is where most men get stuck. Not in failure, but in rumination. Lying awake, replaying conversations. Overthinking what they should have said. Trying to edit the past. Trying to predict the future. But the Stoic understands this. Freedom does not come from control. It comes from knowing what to hold and what to release. As Epictetus taught, some things are up to us, and some things are not. That single sentence, if taken seriously, is a revolution. And it begins each night, in the final minutes before sleep. So here is your practice for tonight. Write down 3 things you control today. And 3 things you must let go. The act is simple. But the result is profound. Because when you write down what you controlled, you reinforce your power. You remind yourself, I made choices today. I shaped my path. I directed my energy. And when you write what you must release, you disarm the mind's false grip. You unhook yourself from the need to fix everything. You let the day rest in peace, and with it, your nervous system. This is not just emotional hygiene. This is identity building. Here's how to practice it with intention. Take 5 minutes before bed. Pen and paper, not screen. Write the sentence, what did I control today? Reflect. Was it your tone in a tense moment? The fact you chose to move your body? Your ability to stay calm in traffic? Write down 3. Own them. Then ask, what must I let go of? Was it someone else's reaction? A missed opportunity? A conversation you cannot undo? List 3. And next to each one, write, not mine. This practice is not passive. It is a conscious act of severing what doesn't belong to you, so that you can sleep with a clear mind and rise with clear intention. And if you do this nightly, here's what begins to change. You become lighter. You become more focused. You begin to see your true realm of power and stop wasting life in the illusion of control. Most men carry the weight of the world because they never pause to ask, is this even mine to carry? You are not most men. You are training to become the kind of man who sees clearly, acts precisely, and rests deeply. And it starts with a pen. 3 truths. 3 releases. And the quiet courage to say, I did what I could. I'll let go of the rest. 10. End the day with a flame. Read one Stoic quote before sleep. Last night, you did something most never do. You separated what was yours to carry from what was never yours at all. You reflected with clarity. You put the day down with deliberate hands. And now, as you cross into night again, there's one final act of strength. Feed your mind one last truth. One thought that centers you. One sentence that reclaims your soul before sleep. Because how you end your day matters. Not just to your rest, but to the man you are becoming. Most men fall asleep with the residue of noise. A screen in their face. A chaotic feed. A trail of mental clutter scrolling endlessly. And they wonder why they wake up tired. Why they feel pulled, foggy, agitated. As if they've never truly rested at all. But you are not most men. You are shaping a different rhythm. You are rewriting the end of your day with intent. And so, tonight, you will feed your final thoughts not with distraction, but with philosophy. One sentence from a Stoic. One timeless reminder. 5 minutes of stillness before you close your eyes. Why? Because the brain is absorbent before sleep. It is malleable, open, quiet. And what you pour into it in that final moment doesn't just shape your night. It shapes the man who wakes up tomorrow. You are not drifting into sleep tonight. You are stepping into it like a warrior returning to camp. And your final words, like a battle hymn, should remind you who you are. Here's how to do it. Choose one Stoic quote from Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, or another voice of timeless clarity. It doesn't have to be long. In fact, it shouldn't be. A single line is enough. Read it slowly. Out loud if possible. Let the words land in your body, not just your brain. Close your eyes and reflect. Ask yourself, what does this mean to me now, today? Let that meaning settle into your final breath before sleep. Do not follow it with noise. Let it be the last note of your day. Examples? Seneca, he suffers more than necessary, who suffers before it is necessary. Marcus Aurelius, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Epictetus, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Choose what resonates. Let the sentence work on you, like a medicine, like a mantra, like a mirror. Because this is not just about philosophy. It is about identity. When you end your day with wisdom, you rise the next day with strength. When your final input is ancient fire, your next output is modern focus. And slowly, night by night, you become the man whose foundation is not shaken by storms. Because his thoughts are rooted in stone. This is the final step of your Stoic reset. But it is not the end. It is the beginning of a rhythm that can remake your life. So tonight, turn off the noise. Open the page. Find the sentence. Let it echo. And when you wake tomorrow, wake as a man who ended the day not by accident, but by philosophy. Now it's your turn. Start tonight. Choose your quote. Let your mind sleep under the stars of stoic thought, and rise tomorrow sharper, clearer, more solid than ever before. Your discipline is no longer a theory. It's a way of life. Now go live it. The Stoic Reset, a manifesto of disciplined living. This is not just a checklist. This is a reprogramming of the self. This is your silent rebellion in a world addicted to noise. This is how you reclaim your mind, one deliberate action at a time. You started by preparing your mind at dawn, not to control the world, but to control yourself. You removed temptation before it could hijack you. You sat in silence with your meal, reminding yourself that presence begins in the small things. You stared down failure and refused to look away. You did what you disliked, and discovered your will was stronger than your whims. You stopped postponing. You moved with structure. You said no, not out of anger, but out of alignment. You cut complaints from your vocabulary, knowing they were eating your strength from the inside. And finally, you closed each day with clarity, reflecting, releasing, and feeding your mind with truth. You've trained your attention. You've reclaimed your time. You've guarded your energy. You've chosen discomfort over drift. You've embodied the Stoic ideal, not by study, but by action. And now, the choice is yours. Let this be a one-time experiment. Or let this be your new standard. Because the world does not need more men with good intentions. It needs more men with practiced integrity. Calm in chaos. Present under pressure. Capable of being still and then decisive. This is the way. Not easy. Not loud. But unshakable.